So today I posted up on Instagram asking you guys to give me some topics, something to talk about. Aubrey's gonna help me pick a few topics here. Read the one that Alexander Performance asked.
The big debate on the 87-88 speed density and the 89-93 mass air cars. Which one's more valuable through 87 through 93?
So the speed density and mass air debates like always been kind of popular one. The rumor always was the speed density cars were quicker. I converted a speed density car over to a mass air car, and to be completely honest with you, it ran the exact same. So no real big difference there. And as far as like value wise, I mean, of course, if it was speed density and you left it speed density and it was an all original low mileage car, it might be worth a little bit more due to that. But I don't think there's a price difference between the two, to be completely honest with you. So that being said, if a speed density car is holding you back from purchasing a Foxbody, say you really like this car, it's a good price, but it's speed density. So you're worried about being able to throw a cam in it and a set of heads and all that. Guys, it's a pretty simple conversion. It's pretty easy to do, so go ahead, pick yourself up that speed density car and you can always convert it over to mass air. So Gearhead posted up a really good question and a topic that I've been kind of wanting to cover anyway. So let's go ahead and handle that now.
VERTs were the most expensive back in the day. Do you see much future for them?
So VERTs were the most expensive car, right? Well, it's funny because GTs were too. So GTs had the tweed interior first, and they were the more expensive car. Nowadays, the coupes have taken over. The coupes are what everybody wants, and they were the cheaper of the cars back in the day. Now, there were a few guys way back when that would pick a coupe over a GT or a convertible or something like that due to the weight. So back in the day, it really mattered a lot, the weight of these cars, because there weren't a lot of mods out there. So if you got yourself in a race with your buddy and he had a GT or a convertible car and you had a lightweight coupe, chances are, driver for driver, the coupe's gonna win. I mean, as far as the future of the convertibles, I just don't think there is much of one. It's not really fared good for convertibles throughout the years. You know, I mean, certain cars, yeah, sure, but I don't think Foxbodies will be one to where the convertibles really take off. I know, you know, Gearhead has a convertible car, and it's not a knock against convertibles. It's just most people are leaning more toward, like I said, the GTs, the LXs, and just the coupes, not the convertible. And I look at convertibles as a different model car, right? Like a GT, a coupe, something like that. To me, you have the convertible. So 85 Fox GT asked, you know, maybe a 4i Fox Celine, something like that in the near future. Probably not. We do have a car coming for the channel that we're going to be working on here real soon, but right now it's just really not in the cards. We want to get our lift and we want to get everything else situated before we bring this new project car home. But I will say this, I think you guys are really going to love this new car that we're bringing. Now I'll just leave it at that. A lot of you kind of can guess what it is, but I'm just not ready to disclose it yet, because the reason being, if we start talking about it and you guys start bringing it up, I'm going to get amped up about it, right? I have to be smart about this. I can't take on that project at the moment, so it's best just to let sleeping dogs lie, or foxes.
Transmission options and T5 capabilities.
Transmission options and T5 capabilities. Guys, we talk about this all the time, and a T5 is more than capable, but I would say somewhere around the 400 to 450 rear wheel horsepower range. A good built T5, meaning it's shimmed correctly and you don't put too harsh of a clutch in it. I really think a T5 is fine. You can always move up to the Z spec, which is a little bit better. That's what's in the green car. And then you can go to like a G-Force. People can build you a G-Force T5, and believe it or not, they're not super expensive. My buddy Earl that I bought my transmission from, I want to say, don't quote me on this guys, but I want to say somewhere between $2,000 and $2,300 you can get yourself a really good G-Force. That's impressive. So obviously a T56 is an option for you guys if you're looking for something else. They're very expensive to put in, and I for one, I'm not a huge T56 fan, but they are great transmissions, no doubt. I just like the lightweight T5s, me personally. How
about a checklist on things to look for when buying a Fox?
Ooh. So we've touched on like the checklist thing on Foxbody. You know, that's something that we will cover again. So I want to do a separate video on that and really go through this with a fine-tooth comb and see if we can't really point out some things that have not really been addressed by other YouTubers or something that just hasn't been addressed in a really long time. So I'm gonna go back and redo that video for you guys here pretty soon, and we'll talk about some things to look for if you're trying to purchase a Foxbody for the first time, or maybe just what to look for.
What springs are you currently using in the Calypso clone?
The springs in the Calypso clone are cut springs. They're stock springs that have been cut, and I want to say it's like a coil up front and maybe a coil and a half in the back. I can't remember on that, guys. I always get confused on it, but it's somewhere around there. I typically prefer the way the cut springs ride. Some springs are really good, but for me, usually cut springs obviously are a lot cheaper and they ride pretty good.
My buddy has a 97 Cobra that he's parting out. Do you know if I can use all his parts to do a 5-lug swap on my 93 GT?
Yes, you can use all those parts. You can put the whole rear end in the car and pretty much problem solved.
Topic, when do you know when to stop modding? I can't seem to find a stopping point.
Well, so I guess that's kind of always been like a debate when to stop modding your car. Ultimately, it's up to you. It's up to the driver, the user, whatever you want to call it, the owner. We tend to go too far with these cars. I'm not gonna lie to you. We tend to get very competitive with them, and next thing you know, you're caught up in the rat race trying to outrun your buddy and the guy down the street or across town or whatever the case may be. And it really kind of takes the fun out of it sometimes, and it makes these cars to where they're not fun to drive. So if I had to just say, ask yourself what you want to do with your car. Like, what are your goals? Do you just want to drive it and have some extra power? Do you want to drag race the car? Do you want to road race it? Are you trying to roll race 1,000 horsepower cars? Answer that question first, and then literally pick you a combination. So if you're unsure on what you want to do with the car, like how to build it, pick a combination online. There's a ton out there that work. Andrew's little combo is really good, and as you guys could see, I mean, it ran with about a 560 real world horsepower automatic Coyote car. So I mean, that's pretty impressive if you ask me. But just pick a budget, pick a stopping point, and stick to it. You can always upgrade later. My best advice to you is don't get carried away too quickly, because as you do things slowly and gradually, the car, you kind of grow with the car, and you're aware of the changes that are being made. If you do 5 or 6 things at one time and the car doesn't act right, and you don't like it, so it's hard to tell which part affected your car negatively.
Best bang for the buck intake manifolds in your opinion, and which do you think are worth porting, if any?
Best bang for your buck. So that's really hard to say, guys. I'm gonna go with the GT40. Best bang for the buck because they're super cheap. You can get them out of the junkyard. And after that, none of the intakes are cheap. So pick one. Really good intake though is the Systemax intake. That's really good. What I will say is GT40 intake ported. I mean, it's going to cost you some money, but let's just say a friend gave you one, or you got $100 in one, and you go send it off and you get it ported. Yeah, sure. I mean, you could go with the GT40 intake, something like that. And remember, guys, the old bread box intakes, the old comp cam intakes, they're made out of plastic or composite. If you can find one of those are really good intakes for high RPM. They're not the best for riding around, you know, on the street and having low end torque, but they're pretty cheap, I think, if you can find them.
What's in your fog lights?
What's in my fog lights? Yeah, I saw that comment earlier. So that's just the turbo piping that you see in the fog lights.
Andrew's eating habits.
Andrew's eating habits are horrible. Absolutely horrible. The dude eats nothing but junk food. That's it. That's all he ever eats. So he eats like Fruity Pebbles and Rice Krispie treats, and it's ridiculous. Drinks chocolate milk all day. He's bad. Eats SpaghettiOs. He loves SpaghettiOs.
New Edge is the new Foxbody.
So I've seen this come up. This New Edge is the new Foxbody. I saw where somebody had posted a video about that. So this seems to be a pretty hot topic. We may actually cover that completely separate, since it seems to be something that you know, that's kind of new and trending, and I've got a lot to say about that. So tell you what, we'll do a separate video on it.
Power output and split block. How much horsepower do you need for a fun street car? So
you know, guys, there's no set limit. This car right now, when we don't know, we've not put it on a dyno, but I'm sure it makes, we'll just call it 500 to the wheels. It's almost got to make that on 15 pounds with heads and the cam and everything else. So you know, we've not split the block yet, guys. It's all about harmonics, making sure you got a good harmonic balancer, making sure your valve train is in order, obviously making sure that the engine itself is not too worn, and keeping the RPM down. That's what will save these things from splitting at 450 to the tires, 500 to the tires. Ultimately, there is no set number. But as far as like a good daily driver, good power type street car Fox body, I would say around 350 to 400 to the tires is a really fun Fox body, in my opinion. All right, guys, so that's it for the questions. Like I said, I'm limited on time, so I really wanted to come out and answer some of the questions that you guys had, and some really good topics got brought up that we're just gonna completely do separate videos on, so I do appreciate that. Let me give you guys a quick update on both cars before we go. So as you can see, this car is exactly the same way as it was after we put the pulleys on it. We've got to get a belt. I've not even measured it yet, guys. We will get to that here pretty soon. The wheels are just kind of sitting up there. We still have to get these tires swapped around, so I am going to leave the anniversary wheels on the Calypso for a while. So we're going to swap the tires out. I think they just, I don't know, they just look really clean on this car, and I think the gold looks really good on the red, so we're gonna leave that. Guys, like I told you before, this thing's holding up really good. I'm super impressed with how this car is running and how it's holding up, but we need to go in and clean the tune up. I know a lot of you want me to dyno tune the car. Guys, I take offense to that. I'm not taking the car anywhere to get it dyno tuned, at least not right now. I wanna do this myself. If I blow it up, I blow it up. I like to do things 100% myself though. So with that being said, we will be cleaning up the tune a little bit, and we're gonna raise the timing a little on the car, make sure we got some Torco in it. And no, we're not gonna go to E85. I know a lot of people want us to, but we're not gonna do that. We don't have enough injector for that. So we'll run some Torco in it, clean the tune up, and I'm gonna swap the shifter out. A subscriber gave me a Pro 5.0 shifter at Ford Takeover. So we're gonna drop that in there, and maybe that'll at least help me shift a little bit better. Right now, the transmission or clutch or something's just not quite letting me shift as fast as I can. So it's really costing me in these races. I mean, it's costing me probably a quarter of a car at least, or a half a car in the race. So we've got to get that fixed. Guys, that's what's coming up. We got a lot of stuff coming. We've got something really big for the channel too, and it's not car related, but we may have picked up a new sponsor. I'll leave that there. I do want to verify. Let's make sure everything works out first before I go to mentioning stuff. All right, guys, I'm gonna go ahead and wrap this video up. And as always, thanks for watching.